And let us pray. Armim ka Adonai ki dilitini. Adonai Elohai la'olam odeka amen. I will extol you, O Lord, for you have drawn me up. O Lord my God, I will give thanks to you forever. Amen. This year in Advent, we've been talking about finding God in light and in darkness, and we have come now. We have come to this day of Christmas Eve. We took time and looked at the hope that we find in light, the peace and the promise that we find in darkness, the joy that is God in the midst of both the light and the dark, and the love that we find. And so today, in light and in dark, we get to celebrate the birth of Christ. It helps if I don't. There we go. So I've got to say, as I was reading through the text this year, trying to figure out what it is that I'm going to say about the birth of Christ that might sound a wee little bit different than last year and the year before that and the year before that and the year before that, I noticed something. Tell me if you've noticed this as well. As I was reading through Luke 2, I noticed that we don't actually know that Jesus was born at night. No time is suggested. It's not there. It's not in the middle of the night when Mary's time had come, she gave birth to a son. It simply says, when Mary's time came, she gave birth to a son. Now, we expect that the birth of Christ happened at night, right? Has anyone seen a nativity play where the birth of Christ happened in the middle of the day? Anybody? No. It's what we've been taught, right? In the middle of the night, Mary gave birth because there was the star, and it was, a silent and calm night with no screaming whatsoever. Right? Because that's why the shepherds were out in the fields to begin with. It was dark. They were watching their sheep. But the shepherds probably had to spend the day out with the sheep as well. And so we understand and we collectively experience and expect the birth of Christ to happen in the middle of the night. And I'm not going to lie, when we said we were going to do a 9:30 in the morning Christmas Eve worship service, I was like, really? It's daylight at 9:30 in the morning. People, come on now. But here we are. I think perhaps there are a variety of reasons why we've decided this late night birth of Christ was a thing. One of them is because there is some safety in that darkness of night, in the birth of a child and happening in the middle of the night. And there are others. We'll get to those later. Right? Because if you think about it, if you're imagining the birth of Christ, if you're imagining the birth of the Son of God coming and being swaddled together and laid in a manger, why wouldn't it happen in the middle of the night? It invites us to feel swaddled as well. It invites us to be comfortable and cozy, to be welcomed into this world, to be watched over, to be cared for, to be safe, to be wrapped in the arms of God. And if nothing else, when we come for Christmas, this is what we want. We want to be wrapped in the arms of God. There's a lot of unknown in the world, and there's a lot of unknown in the night, but it is always out there, and we are in here. And at night, we can say, I will deal with out there tomorrow, right? Now is time for me to be safe. Now it is time for me to snuggle into my bed with my nice fuzzy slippers and be okay. In the night, we are relishing in God's embrace. We are in that peace. We are at home. And in that moment, it doesn't matter what childbirth actually looks like. We can celebrate a silent night. And yet, also, if we celebrate the night that Christ was born, we can also celebrate the fact that in the darkness, the glory of God shows up in a bright and brilliant way. right? As those shepherds are standing out in the fields and the heavenly host appears. It is so much more dramatic at night. It is beautiful, it is brilliant, it is lovely, it is gorgeous, and it cannot be missed. Because as you're standing there, as a person might be standing out in the fields without the street lights on, because no street lights, just the stars in the sky, no snow on the ground, so it may be a wee bit bright, but not at all. And then the divine sun turns on, and the glory of God shines around them. We know that the birth of Christ is not something that can be missed. It is brilliant, and it is bright, and it is the light of the world coming to us. It's exciting news. Jesus is born. Emmanuel, God with us. We get to celebrate the incarnation, God fully embodied and walking. Maybe not, the day Jesus was born, but being with us day and night. And for that, we can celebrate. And for that, we can shout the good news and follow along with those shepherds as they go into town and they find Mary and Joseph and Jesus. And then as they go and shout around Bethlehem, God is born. Christ is come. How exciting is this news? It's so much more dramatic when it happens at night. That's on purpose, I suspect, because we need to pay attention. This Christmas, it's time to pay attention, to stand up and to say, we have good news. We are embraced by God. And there are things going on in the world. There are wars being fought. There are debates that are changing and shaping our lives. There are conversations we're having as a congregation that will drastically change the way we live out our faith. But God is wrapping God's arms around us, sending a baby to be born and to say, I am with you every step of the way. I am watching over you every step of the way. You are safe, and you are cared for. And we pay attention to that because we know that the love of God has come. The love of God is shared through all the world. And in the morning, we can face those hard times because today, Christ is born. Amen? Amen.